Well, I want to put this out as an interesting idea where I think it's possible too. Now, I know the CIA is attempting to do this in a bad way. They're expecting that the Russian collapse will, this is what they plan anyway. They think there's going to be a Russian collapse. I think there might be a USA collapse, to tell you the truth. But, I think there should be a unification of Russia and the United States, but on a confederation basis. In other words, like the Confederacy. In other words, and I got to backtrack and tell you what the Confederacy really means, because I know it's been embedded in people's mind that Confederacy stood for slavery, and that was what the war was about. No, no, no. The Confederacy was about states' rights and anti-centralized control, and also about not taxing the hell out of one region for the benefit of another region. So, in other words, the South was taxed heavily for the benefit of the North, which was an ongoing issue since the country was formed in the United States, and you wouldn't want to have centralized taxes anyway. It should be more regulated to the states and maybe just on import duties, but considering if the United States and Russia were one country, there wouldn't be too much importing of anything because we'd be self-sufficient all the way. But there should be a lot of autonomy for regions. That's what it needs to be. And actually, in the Russian Federation, a lot of it is that way. There's Siberia and Sakha. I think it's Sakha. I forgot the name of that other province out there where they have a lot of their wealth. Now, I can tell you what's common to Russia and the United States. There are elitists that run the country. That's really what's wrong. Yeah, they got the corporate elitists on this side. You got the oligarchs on the other side. That's really what's screwed up. One of the things I think Russia could do, and also the United States can do even more of, is arm the hell out of the peasants. And, one thing, even when having arms and weapons and things, maybe it's not religion, but you got to have a code of honor or something like that, a code of fairness that, that it's all about defending yourself and all that type of stuff. Because, it's not a utopia solution, but it is a good solution against too much power of the state, too much power of people on the top that, downtrodden everybody. I mean, it's happening in the United States. It also happens in Russia. Putin's basically a mouthpiece for the oligarchs. He works for the oligarchs, man. He is an oligarch himself. He works for the oligarchs. But to me, I think it's, one thing I got a lot more respect for Russian people is, like, I saw an online poll. 92% of Russians would have went for Trump. Now, honestly, I'm never 100% sure what Trump's about, because he's a wheeler dealer. He says one thing, he does something else. But on the surface of what he says, it sounded good. Drain the swamp, get rid of the corruption in Washington, D.C., bring jobs back to the United States, and all this kind of stuff. America first, fine, I'm all with that. I think some of it's true. He's probably not all BS. And, that resonated even good with Russians. So I'm like, they're fine with me. I think what really needs to happen with Russia to keep Russia strong is all the people need to have AK-47s or AK-74s. And at the least you can go reindeer hunting with them or something for food. Now, also to get back to this Confederacy thing, because, I know people have already been brainwashed that the Confederacy is about slavery. And, I'm showing the third national Confederate flag over here. The Confederacy broke away from the Union. They were separated from the Union over taxation. Now, the thing with slavery that really proves that the North wasn't freeing the slaves, if you dig into all the detailed accounts, and you can find these accounts, where you can find them is in there's archives for people that were Southerners that were not supporting the Confederacy, that were looking for to get payment back from the U.S. government for things that were taken from, or damage that was done during Sherman's march to the sea. And within those accounts, you could see a lot of detail of what life was in the South. But you could also see there was a lot of detail how the Sherman's troops, for instance, didn't free any slaves and didn't help any slaves when they did their march to the sea. It was all about destruction. Actually, they called death, starvation, and disease of all the black slaves. That's what the Northern Army was doing. They didn't care about freeing anybody. It was about subjugating the South. I mean, you can read those details indirectly in a lot of these. That's how I started picking up on it. I should probably put videos on it, but I'd be here for freaking hours going through that stuff. But it's like they didn't free anybody. The Union Army didn't free shit. I'm sorry, that's really what it comes down to. It was all about, give me the money, South, we want your money. So, idealistically, the South was right. Now, what would have happened if they won? You know, they probably might have turned into some aristocratic, uppity yo-yos, like whatever happened even when we had the Revolutionary War in 1776. You look at what the hell the United States turned into since that time. You know, the idealism what the country was founded upon and what it's become is two different things. But I do think, I know it's been an elitist plan to unify Russia and the United States for a long time. It has been. It's been going back to the 1930s, for crying out loud. As a matter of fact, World War II was even part of that system. And actually communism, the financing of communism was even part of that too. It's been a long-range plan. It's been set back many times. That's another thing though. But, you know, it's not like people lay out these plans for world government don't always get their way quick enough. You know, there should have been, you know, people were planning there'd be world government by the year 2000. It didn't happen, right? But as far as the, you know, concept of unifying Russia and the United States, I think that would be a good concept. But it has to be like a loose unification where each region has a lot of power. And that's the way it was supposed to be in the United States. There should have been a lot more states' rights. There should have been, that's why I fly the state flag instead of the American flag. I fly the flag of my state. Doesn't mean I'm anti-American, but I realize all the powers not enumerated in the Constitution belong strictly to the states and the people. And, you know, if we have a unification of Russia and the United States, that's the way it's got to be. It's got to be a very loose confederation. That's what it has to be. But I think it's a good idea because I could tell you that, you know, I think more Russians got their heads screwed on straight than Americans. Because in his last election, I know Trump's kind of he is a BS artist. And he is, man. It's already been proven to be, you know, because he's switching his changing his tune already since he got elected. But, you know, you got to really be out there in loony land if you were going to go for Hillary Clinton. Because she's the most corrupt piece of crap we ever had in our entire political history. And that's saying a lot because we had some really corrupt politicians. So, you know, 92% of the Russians were going for Trump, at least on what he said on his surface. I know Trump is like turning out to be BS with Mitt Romney being considered for Secretary of State. And I probably should put this on a separate video, but you know, Mitt Romney's the guy that sold this American company down the river to China, even though the company was profitable and Americans were doing a good job. They were forced to train all the new Chinese replacements, and he sold them out. That was one thing. He's also a freaking warmonger. He's going to get us into a conflict with Russia if Trump chooses this jerk Romney as Secretary of State. Which, to me, I don't know, this is stupid. I mean, it's going to wind up happening, I'm thinking. I don't want it to happen. You know, I'm not a Putin worshiper. And honestly, if I was stuck in a position of being president, I definitely wouldn't be. I'd work with Putin as best I possibly could. I know what he is. I know what the deal is. You know, I'm not gonna. You know, but I'm not gonna tell him you're a bad guy. Hey, I don't like you, and you know, I'm not gonna say that kind of stuff. You know, I mean, I'm just a YouTube guy, right? So I'm not gonna say that. I'm never gonna say that. I'd work with him. I know Russia's got their own agenda and they're playing all these games. I know that, but you know, conflict doesn't freaking work well for business. Because conflict is about destroying everything you built. And I think the United States and Russia need to build more together. But it should not be centralized control. It has to be anti-centralized control. And that's why I got, you know, just the third national flag of, you know, hardly used probably in the Confederacy, you know. I don't know what the hell it means. You got the Confederate battle flag, white background, and the French. I think that stands with French, you know, the French Republic, the red stripe. I don't know what the hell it means exactly. But, you know, it stands for a loose confederation, anti-centralized control, and that's what you really need if the United States and Russia get together as one entity, because it'd have to be very much loosely controlled, where each region has a lot of power. That's the way it's supposed to be in the United States, but it isn't that way as it is, and we need to go back to that. And the only way you can really protest that is to fly your own state flag. Now, if you're from the Northeast, that might be a bad idea, because that's really where the problems are coming from. But, even California fly their own state flag. You got the bear, California Republic with the bear on it, fine, it's trying to break away. That ain't going to happen, But, yeah, you got to have more states' rights. And that's the way I would envision, the United States and Russia being together as one nation. And everybody be armed and polite. And have a code of honor. Because, actually, I'm not... I know to deal with the... because even, the United States needs to get rid of the Gun Control Act of 1968. That's freaking Nazi weapons law. March 1938 from Hitler. I know that. That's what it was based upon. They need to get rid of that crap. That's something else. Because if we want to have real individual freedoms, throw that crap right out the door. Russia needs to get rid of all their freaking gun laws and shit. And the only problem is in Russia, man, crazy freaking guys that drink a lot of vodka to be like shooting up the place or something. I don't know if that'll happen or what, but maybe not. I don't know. God, that would suck. Anyway, but that's you got to have that assurance, because people are need to have the power in their hands, and I don't want it where if you unite Russia and the United States, it's the elite on the one side or united with the elite on the other side, and everybody gets screwed. I don't like that. No way. No way. But be that as it may, I think, I don't know if the Russian government's going to fall apart that easy. They probably might. They might. I think the U.S. government's going to fall apart too, though. And if that happens, maybe we'll just get together and work together, and as a people, not as a governments. And even when I talked about Mitt Romney being a warmonger, which he is, and I don't like Obama. Okay, I don't like any of these jerks, man. I should be president. The only thing I want Trump to do is when he's president, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. You get rid of all this crap. I'd work with Bill Clinton, to tell you the truth, man. As long as he's not getting in with that communist crap, I kind of like that guy in a way. Even though I don't like him for a lot of his political stances, I realize, I don't know why, I kind of like that guy. I really do. But I don't like her. He's a crazy dude, though. I know what I'd put him in charge of, The Department of, sexually transmitted diseases or something, or whatever. He's a wild man. I mean, he can do whatever the hell he wants in that department. We'll get rid of EPA and all that kind of crap like that. The Department of Energy, Department of Education, all that crap. Anyway, but as far as Romney, even when he talks about Trump, he calls him like a fraud, a phony. In a lot of ways, Romney's telling the truth. It's interesting when you listen to these guys talk about each other at the top. They're actually telling you grains of truth about each other. I mean, I never voted Democrat, but I can tell you, Bill Clinton tells you some stuff about the Republicans in Bohemian Grove sometimes, right? He does. I mean, they're all doing it. I mean, he's doing all kinds of screwed up stuff too. They're all doing it. But, I look at it like this. The only way we're going to have world peace is if the United States and Russia unify, but under like a very loose confederation where you have true states' rights, autonomy, and which means that the centralized government should have very, very, very limited powers to tax, which we need to get rid of a stupid IRS and the 16th Amendment to the Constitution, which established it. That's really what started the United States on the ball rolling towards being a freaking empire. Because now that's how they can subjugate the people through taxation. They couldn't. That was against direct taxation of the people. Was against the Constitution. I know Abe Lincoln did it to finance the war in the North, but and then later these taxes were coming in still, and after the war between the states was over, years later, they had a good sized surplus in the government for a while in the 1800s, and there was always plots to get more taxation because the way you can make the biggest loans through the banks is through governments, not the private enterprise, and the way to make loans to governments is through war. You finance both sides of the war. You lend both sides money, right? It's a racket. It's a racket. So, the two things that really got to watch for is no direct taxation of people, period. Flat out wrong. And number two is we got to establish the way the money system's going to be. In other words, get the hell, no Federal Reserve, no central banks, none of that kind of stuff. The only real money is going to be commodities or paper that's based upon commodities or electronics that are based upon commodities that also is audited to show that the commodities are behind that paper or electronic, digital currency that we have. That would end the whole thing. That would end the whole thing. Because I think right now, I think the guys on the top are planning a war between the United States and Russia. They might be, I don't know, to bring about the new world government that's going to be a tyranny. Maybe. But I'm not against the United States and Russia being under one government, but it's got to be very loose. I don't want it the way the elitists are playing us. See, that's the difference. That's the difference. And I know some people look at this flag and they say, "Oh, that's just fascism or Nazism." No, it ain't. No, it ain't. Fascism is when the guy that runs the government controls the economy. Confederacy was like the exact opposite of fascism. Unfortunately, if they did win, I think unfortunately they would have become too aristocratical. They would have got real uppity, and it would would. It's always like that. The people would do the fighting, and the people that actually idealize what they're doing, what the war's about. Then once also you get the pinheads in charge, the ones that write and scribe and they talk and they do all the stuff, then they turn it into a racket for themselves. But that's where you got to choke them off with the money, because that's the way our government's supposed to be. The Congress is supposed to coin the money. There's not supposed to be direct taxation of income. That's why that's why they had an amendment to the Constitution to establish the IRS, right? Freaking bullshit. Anyway, and maybe there'll be more videos on some of that stuff, but it kind of is on my silver videos. But I think this is the route to take. United States and Russia, form one country, and the rest of the world can deal with us. I don't know what the hell you call us. I don't give a shit. Make up a new name. Rush America. I don't know what the hell it would be. What the hell? We're already we're right next to each other when you consider Alaska, right? What the hell, right? What the hell? So, and like I said, it's going to have to be very loosely centralized. Whatever the centralized power is, it's going to have to be weak. It's going to have to be the regions going to have most of the power. And most of the power is it's going to have to be like the true U.S. Constitution was in the beginning.